Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Women's Wellness Network. Again, here we are. We have another lovely woman with us. This time we have Kate, and she's from the UK. How are you doing today, Kate?
I'm good. Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, really good. It is, as we were speaking just before, I was saying it's torrential rain, but the sun's just come out, Tammy. So yeah, I'm embracing that. I'm embracing this kind of spring feeling with the color of green today as well.
Yep, beautiful spring green. Lovely. Oh, makes me feel good even just looking at you. So thank you. So can you introduce yourself and maybe give us a little idea of what you do in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. So here I am. I am, by background, an intuitive executive coach. So I spent a number of years in the corporate world, actually living what I call the prescribed life,
Hmm.
which I now call the prescribed life. So, doing all the things, getting all the promotions and kind of excelling what I did. The kind of core theme was always learning and helping others. And I translated that into the coaching space. And this year, I'm actually embracing more of the spiritual side of myself. So I'm declaring that to the world. I'm calling myself the abundance activation coach now because I really realize that when I'm helping others actually remember who they are at a core level, at a soul level, do more of what they love, really discover what that is for themselves, it amplifies them. And that abundance naturally gets activated. So the journeys that my clients go through from when they work with me to even sort of years down the line and they're tapping back in and they're telling me they're giving their updates, what I've realized is actually they've really elevated. They've had some sort of awakening, they've chosen a new path, and they are able to choose now to level up and activate different forms of abundance with ease. So I've put that into a process and which I call the abundance blueprint, um, to share that with the world in whatever form that is. So that's what I do day in, day out. I absolutely adore what I do. I get to work with amazing women and some men too, across the world, across the globe, um, and live and breathe my soul's mission, and that really lights me up. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. Help others do the same thing. So find that thing, find their soul's mission, reconnect back in with it, and live that so that in other parts of their lives that has a ripple effect.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. I love what you said, they've come to a certain point and then they're realizing they need to level up. And this, to me, it's like that's part of the ascension. That's part of maturity. That's part of the growth, right? Realizing spirituality, is we can be spiritual beings right from when we're young, but there's always something that, when we get into adulthood that says, hello, look over here. And there hopefully something, dramatic doesn't have to happen for us to, go that way instead.
Yeah, it is often, it is, I mean, it's common for that to happen. So there's some sort of catalyst for the awakening process to happen. And as you say, we hope it's not something catastrophic, but the universe will give us those signs earlier in life. And if we're not listening, if we're not actually paying attention, they can bypass us. I certainly did throughout early years. I was very connected, very spiritual, very connected to my clair senses, used to receive premonitions, information. And then I forgot that. I tapped out of it because I didn't think that people would accept me the way I was. And actually, I've had beautiful conversations with, Empower Network TV and all the guys that you've worked with in the Catapult program and things. And it's actually remembering who you are and unlearning all the things that got in the way. And sometimes it happens with something that happens. For me, it was burnout. So I burnt out not once but twice to make sure I did it well. And it was that unfolding. It was like actually the universe gently tapping me on the shoulder a few times in life, me ignoring it, and then them shaking me and saying, "No, this is the time, Kate. This is it now. We're going to bring you to your knees. You're not going to know which way is up. It's going to feel really uncomfortable to begin with." But through that, the unfolding I was able to actually birth myself again. Essentially, it was, who am I? What is going on? What's serving me? What's not serving me? What really resonates with my soul? I felt so disconnected. My soul had been whispering to me for a long time, And I felt disconnected to those whispers. I couldn't almost hear them anymore because of the noise of all the shoulds and the musts and the, expectations of society. I was a perfectionist, so it was very easy, as that perfectionist setting within me was magnified, to just follow that path, that prescribed life that wasn't for me. And I didn't fit there. And so that burnout was the catalyst, first of all, for me, as was, traveling the world and having various things happen and feeling guided and being called back to something. So for some people, it is some sort of burnout. It's a relationship breakdown. It's made them think differently. Sadly, it's grief. It's something big has really happened in their life, and they come to me and they say, ever since this happened, I see the world differently. But they can also see the beauty in that too. It's like, I wish it didn't take this to get me to this point, but I want to live differently. I see the world differently now. And actually, I just need some support and help in what that looks like in navigating the path forward. And that's where I come in. That's helping them to reconnect back to themselves, giving the tools and techniques that support them in that process, going on that journey with them, and helping them to come up with a plan. We all have a plan as human beings. We need to be able to see where we are and where we want to be and what the journey could be,
right.
and have that guidance along the way. And it's absolutely empowering and just such a joy. It's an honor for me to be able to do that with women and show them that there is a different way. This is the Women's Wellness Network. It's like, when you are your most well, you are your most radiant, highest self, and you can be of service to the world, and you can just live differently and feel differently in this human form that we are.
Right. Yeah. And coming to that point that says you're getting tapped or you're getting shaken and hello, wake up. It's time. It's time. You're supposed to be doing something a little bit different, even though it could still entail all the kind of the same, even the same work, the same career, the same whatever. But yeah, to choose a little bit of a different path to honor yourself, I guess we got to do that first. So when you had your burnout, what were the first kind of steps that you took to realize that, shoot, I need to do something different here?
I mean, for me, it was a real case of the physical body speaking. It was the physical body speaking. And I've seen some other sessions in your group as well about this. It's like, the body speaks. It's holding score on everything. And so my body was speaking. It was high levels of anxiety, panic attacks. So I had to let that unravel first. I had to let that settle. I had to understand and learn my nervous system and the stress factors. I had to look then, once that my body was at a foundational level, I was able to go and get help in terms of the mind. But I had to let that unravel to happen first with the body, and for it to really be processed, to be able to access that part of my mind. And so then I went to hypnotherapy, and that was revolutionary for me, because I'd never considered anything like that. I'd not considered doing something different like that. I think I was quite open to things, but it was there that my hypnotherapist taught me about the fundamentals of what the brain is trying to do in survival mode, and why my body was showing me this signal. And through that understanding, then I was able to access, okay, so what are the unhelpful systems and beliefs that I am holding that are in resistance to who I really am and where I want to be in life? And so it was, for me, following the breadcrumbs, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. Okay, to remembering my joy, to remembering my passions, to remember my strength, to see my high sensitivity as, a real asset to this world, rather than a hindrance to, oh, why am I like this? What's wrong with me? That lens. And so when I could flip the script from, why is this happening, to, okay, why is this happening for me? Why is this happening for me? And what do I get to learn through this? What am I choosing to unlearn now and release? And from this new foundational template of myself, what do I get to choose now? And that's fundamental when I work with my clients, is bringing them back to the point of, you have a choice,
Mm.
remembering that you have a choice when you're on autopilot and just actually doing from a sense of I must, I should, what will they think, and all these unhelpful mindset beliefs. It's like you have lost sense of this trust and knowing about yourself. You are so much in the fear of life. Even if you think, oh, I'm quite a positive person, you know, I've had several people say, well, I'm a very positive person. Actually, what's running subconsciously isn't supportive of you. And so bringing back and unlearning those pieces, and then remembering who you really are. And because it's remembering, it's like, actually, you know this anyway. You're just letting this surface. You don't need to go and read 100 books. Although if you're called to read a certain book, follow that impulse, great.
Yeah.
But it's not about doing, it's about remembering. And that can make the process lighter for people when they realize, actually, there is a part of me that already knows all of this. And I'm allowing them to step forward. I'm allowing my soul to step forward. And I think that's a beautiful moment when people realize they have a lot of choice in the equation.
Yeah. And being, being a woman in today's society is, well, it's much more empowering nowadays. Post COVID, I'm going to even say, just seemed like we were in a little incubation there, and we decided, oh, we need to do things better. We can do things better. I'm going to do things better. And you mentioned about being a perfectionist. I suffered that myself, and it's very difficult to come out of that particular role. You want to be a certain way. You think, what did you call it? A prescribed life, or what was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm supposed to tick all these boxes. I'm supposed to, at the end of the day, have all these things done. And sometimes they really have nothing to do with who we are. Mostly they
Mm-hmm.
have nothing to do with who we are, just what we're intended, societally to show up as.
Yeah. And deliver, right? It's about results and expectations and external validation. And that means that I've achieved, and then we make that our identity. So absolutely. And many come to me not really knowing who they are anymore, because the identity has become so attached to all of those labels and um, the external validation and the results piece. When I ask them who they really are, they will rattle off all of those labels.
Right.
And it's like, and it's a beautiful exercise to sit there and actually speak with someone and say, so who are you? And just hold space for them. And they'll, it's such a difficult question. It's such a difficult question. Who are you? And they're like, okay, well, I'm a, and then they do their job title, and they give me all the titles. And then I keep saying, but who are you? And then they'll go to what they've achieved, and I've done this and I've done that, and keep asking them, so, but who are you? And they'll go layer by layer. They'll get there eventually, but it's a, you think that's an easy question, but it's not. It's like, that is the root of what we're trying to achieve here, is who am I? What's my soul's mission? How can I be of service in some way? And how can I do that so that I can get to choose and be and live life with an abundance of joy and happiness and ease and grace and money and freedom and all those other beautiful experiences that life can offer? And yeah, just start with, who am I?
Oh, and on the inside, that's we're protecting who we really are. It's been covered over with all these things, these layers, and yeah, being vulnerable enough to share it and show it and allow it to bloom. Because as you say, once you start doing that, everything comes in. Everything's, all
Mm,
the labels and the titles and the masks and all the things are put aside. You can still have them. They're still,
mm.
you don't have to get rid of everything. But yeah, to uncover who you really are at the core is yeah, must be a really delicate but beautiful process.
It is absolutely, and it is. sometimes the dominant emotion that comes forward first is fear.
Mm,
And I'm here for that. It's absolutely natural that that would come forward. It's from a held place collectively, but also ancestrally, we've had a lot of fear. So that needs to be actually allowed to move through you. So it's an emotion, it's energy in motion. So let it move. Don't hold it within, you know. So the fear can be the first thing that comes forward is, oh my goodness, well, if I get to the crux of who I am and I'm so far from who I am, how do I change up all of this? And it's baby steps,
right.
right? It's not, you know, sometimes I think women will come to me and they're fearful that my expectation might be, and I have no expectations, but you know, I might say to them, right, that's it, resign from your job, and this doesn't, you know, this massive, and sometimes for some people it is that, because that's the energy of where they're at, and they're like, I'm ready to go all in, and I need to slice off the things that don't serve me, and I'm ready to do that, and I honor that. But equally, if you're not, that's also okay. But it's meeting yourself where you're at, and once you can get clear, give yourself permission to explore at least what you want to get clear on. Once you get clear on who you really are, you can take baby steps in that direction, and those baby steps accumulate into something that feels very real to you. And even if it's just day to day, small subtle shifts can make such a huge difference to the way that you live your lives. But until we take the time to take stock and do the inner work and ask the questions, we're always just on autopilot.
Right.
Right. And we're always, not always, but we're often training ourselves to live in fear and lack. And so the stories that we tell ourselves prevent us from even giving ourselves permission to explore. You know, the classic one is, I haven't got time. I don't think I've got time for this yet. Maybe when in 6 months' time, or 12 months' time, or 2 years' time, or when my kids have left home, it's like we put these time frames on things, and that's just, you know, lack speaking. It's, I can always come back to, you know, time is just an illusion. So if you embrace it, if you embrace that concept, it's like, how would you feel if you find out in 3 months' time rather than 2 years' time or 4 years' time? It's like, it's just a mechanism to keep us safe. And our ego wants to keep us safe. So it says, we haven't got time for this work.
And then it ends up, yeah, the time is the most important thing in the end, because you realize, oh, I've wasted so much of it, and I could have got here so much sooner if I would have just, you know, opened that door just a little bit. Because like you say, it's fear and it's scary. And yeah, allowing ourselves to, okay, I'm gonna go with this person and I'm gonna just,
Mm.
you know, one little baby step and see what happens. Or like you say, I'm all in. You tell me and I'm there. Do you feel like you have more people that are on one end or on the other end?
There's a fine balance, you know, there is a real fine balance, but it is, you know, just smiling as you were kind of speaking about, you know, people realizing that they, oh, why didn't I make that decision? You know, I've had a lovely CEO come to me recently. She's the CEO of a medical company, and she actually approached me in 2019. So, you know, 5 years ago. And she just wasn't ready then, and that's okay, and she is now, but now she's like all in, and she's shaking up her life, and she's taking real inspired action, and she's realized that there's so much power in her own journey and her own story of getting to a CEO. But you know, being a single mother as she was, the burnout, the following that path that really isn't meant for you, and she's so reconnected back in with her joy and her passions now. And she's realized, funny enough, that wellness is part of that. The health and well-being aspect really lights her up. And so she's retraining to become a health and well-being coach. And, you know, she's doing that. She's within the space of 3 months of working with me, she's made all these choices, and she's cleared out some belief systems that weren't serving her at all. And she's taking inspired action in that direction. And she's even communicated that with work now and said to them, I'm leaving in 1 year. So you've got this 12 months with me. And she's the CEO, you know, this is big news. But it's beautiful. And it's okay that it's taken her that time to get to this point. And waste no time on regrets and things like that. But it's actually, she is someone reminding me, as my clients often do, that once you make that decision just to explore, I always say it always begins with exploration. Explore first. I've got the framework for people, to take them through that process of exploration, discovery, clearing out the mindset beliefs, really then prioritizing what they want, putting it into a plan. And so that in 3 months' time, they are taking inspired action. They are moving in that direction of that other version of themselves. And for her, it is becoming this health and well-being coach and being able to share her story and actually preventing others from burning out and things like that. It's she's going to be of massive service to the world. We need that, and she's got this unique journey, as do all of us.
Mm-hmm.
All of us has this unique journey, and that's connected with our mission too.
Yes.
There is lots and lots of evidence within our journey and the ways that our life progressed to this point. It's all happened for a reason. And this has led you here to this point. And now you get to choose what you do moving forwards.
Yes, I love that you have like a, like a little system that, they can follow. It probably is so gentle that they might not even realize it's actually work and that they're actually doing it, right? You get, oh, well, that's just who I am. That's just part of me. How is this being my healing? But when you get to the next step of it, it's like, oh, look I've uncovered this and I've discovered this or rediscovered this about myself. And like you said, the remembering of who we are and why we are and what we would like to be. I always think, when we were kids and, you have all these dreams, you want to be this thing and you want to be that thing. And how do those fit in now into like my own life? I think about those things and think, wow, they're kind of all, they all have a part and a piece of the path that I'm on currently.
Absolutely, 100%. And when we're children, that daydreaming aspect of us is our soul speaking, right? But we're told to put a lid on it. We're told to stop daydreaming. But it's such a powerful tool. I've done a session this morning in my Abundance Blueprint group, collective group of women, and I was encouraging them to daydream. And part of their homework this week is to daydream, to explore that part of you that is there speaking to you all the time, and magnify those feelings that you get with the daydream that feel really good. Reconnect back into that inner child part of yourself. And, when people work with me one-to-one, we do go back to what you used to enjoy when you were a child. What did you enjoy doing? What lit up your soul when you were little? Whether it's like being creative or drawing or paint, all of these different things, or people played musical instruments. And okay, so how would it feel to reconnect back in with something like that? And they're like, oh my goodness, like couldn't possibly, like but yes, that would be amazing. And then they've gone off and they come back and they go, I found my joy. Like the joy was in, I just did something not for expectation or results. I did it for me, didn't need to show anyone, but I painted something, or I played my piano, or I did something else. And it's like, yes, reconnect back into that innate creativity that is within you, that childlike essence that will show you, yet let joy be your compass, as they say. Let joy take you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, because that will show you your passions, and that's how you can reconnect back to your sense of purpose and how you can take that forward. Like you say, Tammy, there's elements of what you used to daydream about as a child that you have cultivated into your experience now, and what you're doing now, for sure.
Yes, it's very interesting. I love that you work with people that are CEOs and such, because even if they don't leave their job, to learn that wisdom and be able to take it into their corporations. And when you're overflowing with things, it can't help but affect other people. And this, I mean, I would love to see this in the world. Can you imagine going to work at some corporate job and it's joyful and it's fun and it's, everybody's interested in each other, and and not just in the, checking the boxes and writing the reports, but the things that light people up, and knowing and being okay to, bring those to work because they're part of who we are.
Yeah, 100%. And it reminds me of a friend that I've got, an incredible friend who's got a company called Fistera, and she actually goes into large corporations and she does shadow work and inner child healing work and with leaders, right? So, and getting those leaders to see what their subconscious kind of shadows are and their shadow behaviors are and how that manifests into that environment and what they're holding as a childhood experience and how that shows up. It's it is life changing. You should take huge leaders on retreats and they come out the other side a different person, and they can really see how it will shift their ability to lead others when they've healed themselves, when they've actually healed within what was holding them back. And their templates, the way that they communicate, is all from what's happened to them, and they see things differently. And if we can show up authentically at work, and I don't just work with CEOs, I work with all sorts of people, but when you've really done the inner work, you can show up differently no matter what you are doing. Like, it has such a ripple effect on so many areas, including the way that you parent, right? If you are a parent, you start to show up differently with your children because you have shifted, you've elevated, you've ascended, as you say, and you're able to do things consciously. So conscious parenting is something I'm really passionate about too, is once you're working on yourself and your inner self and you remember who you are, you can then consciously parent from that place so that you can help your children earlier. If you've awakened at whatever age in your life, you can do that sooner with your children. You can give them the tools and the framework and the guidance for them to really, really understand their place in the world, rather than get swept away by this prescribed life that I spoke about earlier, by the society's expectations. It's really empowering them to honor who they are, understand themselves, build on their strengths, be okay with those things that they're not great at for now. And I always say yet. It's like if you're still got joy from that, it's yet in our house. I'm not great at playing the piano yet, but I'll get there if it lights me up, if that feels good. And I'm certainly on that journey with my 8-year-old son. It's like he's a highly sensitive child, and I recognize a lot of myself in him. And so I get to reparent my inner child as I raise him consciously and give him the freedom to expand his gifts and connect with he's really spiritual. He's very spiritual and very connected with his soul. And it blows my mind sometimes, his wisdom. And I'm like, wow, you are my teacher too. At this point in my life, you are definitely my guide and my teacher too. But I think that's something else that comes from this natural process of remembering who you are and doing this inner work, is like the ripple effect onto other areas of your life is just, it's hard to describe. It's hard to describe, but it's natural and it happens.
Yes. And once it starts happening, it just happens. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be anything different. You just show up as yourself and voila, right? Like it starts to overflow. And I love that you're consciously parenting. It's I love to see that in the world right now. I mean, I think there's a lot more people that are on board with that, understanding what that even is. And I just think of, all these young people that are coming up, what kind of world that they are going to be creating. And here we are helping foster that. And we should be, because they're our children and we want them to grow up into a beautiful world. But we're allowing them to be themselves. And as you said, he's like highly sensitive. He's highly in tune with himself, with his spirituality, and having informed parents, because if you're not there also, it's hard to not squash the child's, things that you don't understand. And I think that's what a lot of parents have done in the past, right? Just not realizing or not understanding. So maybe it even made them afraid. So they just, no, stop that. Don't do that. Don't talk to that higher purpose or whatever it is, right? Like it's yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see people starting to come around to that. And yes, thank you for doing that, because you're growing
Mhm.
a new world. And you know, he's only 8, and look at already, right? So
I know.
that's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you.
So if
Thank
anybody would like to work with you, how can they find you?
So I'm mostly on LinkedIn. So what I'll do is I'll put my LinkedIn kind of profile below in the comments and my website and things like that. But it's you know, Facebook. I'm still on Facebook, but there's, because of the way that I work, and there's there's a lot of people to ignite on LinkedIn in terms of, you know, the where they are in their organizations and where they want to be. So I kind of tend to hang out a little bit on there. Um, and I'd love, you know, people can inbox me. It's me at the end of the inbox. I'm happy to chat to people about where they are on their journey and things like that, or share more about the way that I work with people. A bit like you, Tammy, you know, it's just, I delight in hearing other people's stories and where they're at, and that's, you know, that's the core essence of who we are. It's like enjoyable to do this work. It doesn't make it feel like work this way. So yeah, people can just reach out in whichever way feels good to them.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, Women of the Women's Wellness Network, if you'd like to learn more about Kate, she's going to put her information in the comments. And yeah, thank you, Kate. My goodness. So much information. I'd love that these are recorded so I can go back and watch some of it again, because, you know, my mind is thinking about one thing and I'm listening intently, and then, oh yeah. And then you know, I hear you say something, I'm like, I need to re-listen to that, because I think there was some gold in there for myself. Never mind the rest of the world, right? So thank you very much for sharing yourself with us today. And my goodness, I wish you all the very best, and keep creating a beautiful world.
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, Women of the Wellness Network, thank you for joining us today. And until next time, be well.